Hi, Sippy audience. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today, we are doing our very first video in our video series to introduce you to Sippy 2020, the future of the soft switch. Today, we have our good friends, Philip Ma, who is in charge of product manager at Sippy Software, and we've got Pavel, who is our lead QA. I am Fred, and I'm in charge of marketing and sales. I welcome you, and I thank you for joining us. If you've signed up for our sandbox contest, you'll be interested in knowing that the answers to the quiz are going to be part of this and the future videos that are coming up. One thing I want to remind you of before we get started is that on Friday the 10th of April of 2020, we are going to be doing a live webcast where you can post your questions and you can have them answered by our team. For now, I will leave you with Pavel, our lead QA, who is going to take you through some very important information about the very exciting features coming up in Sippy 2020.
Hello, audience. So the first item we wanted to talk with you and present you here is the balance allocation algorithm. So this is the specific feature that would help you avoid the negative account balances. And we basically are presenting two new algorithms that will be useful for different kinds of business. So one of them is better used for wholesale systems, and another is to be used, I believe, more for retail systems. So first, that's incremental and average call duration. The latter one will do balance reservation on the based on average call duration, and the first one will do the balance reservation incrementally. And that being said, there would be less chances for account balance to go negative, and account balance would be utilized more efficiently.
The next feature we'll talk about today is the Extended Authentication Manager. In this feature or change, we had authentication and the call processing all being handled by one major component in our software called B2B UA. In Sippy 2020, what we've done is we've split off the functionality to a separate process. This improves the scalability of your soft switch by allowing you to handle more calls per second. What we're seeing here is the call processing time gets reduced quite a bit, and this gives us a little bit more wiggle room, particularly for our customers that have high CPS. So this is a nice little change to give you a little bit more processing power out of your existing hardware, and will allow you to scale up your business and not have to procure new hardware for your systems as you reach those higher limits.
So the next item is reliable provisional responses, where we basically implemented support for RFC 3262. This is also known as PRAC support. So this introduces new method for handling provisional responses, which helps switch operator to acknowledge the provisional responses. Since SIP traffic here is known to be passed through UDP, which means unreliable protocol, like packets could be lost, some responses could be missed because of that. That being said, with this particular RFC support, we would be able to make sure that all responses are delivered in proper order.
The next feature we've introduced in our Sippy 2020 version is multi-factor authentication. Many of you are used to seeing email verifications go out as you log into systems like e-commerce or platforms and whatnot. And we've also added support for Google Authenticator. These are two important security features that we've added to the soft switch to make sure that users that access your soft switch are verified through some means by way of making sure that they have access to the security token or a Google Authenticator code. For this feature to be used, you will need to add a valid email address to your user accounts. With that being set, you'll be able to rest assured that user accounts are being shared between agents anymore. It's a really cool feature to be adding in.
So the item that we'll be talking next would be H323 protocol deprecation support in Sippy. Basically, according to our observations and investigations, the H323 protocol is very rarely used in modern world, and we basically found that it becomes harder and harder to support the protocol that is not really widely used. So that being said, H323 would be deprecated starting from CP 2020, but would remain supported in earlier releases like CP 5.x, for example. So prior to update to CP 2020, our support team will run through some simple check and find out whether some reconfigured setup is present, like authentication rules or vendor connection. And you will be kindly prompted to get that old configuration removed.
The last item that we'll talk about in detail today is our migration to OpenSIPs. In our Sippy 5.2 release, we included OpenSIPs to handle the signaling for any new provisioned soft switches or any environments. In the 2020 version, we're going to be migrating all our existing customers to switch from SIR to OpenSIPs. This in the long run gives us some added flexibility to add some great new features as we move forward with the next generation of our software releases. This is a pretty important change that we need to describe to you guys a little bit more in detail. To facilitate this, we're going to have a live stream, as Fred had mentioned, on April 10th at 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which is 7 p.m. UTC. We'll go through the migration process here, talk a little bit more about it in detail, and also we'll be available for a recap of any of the features that we're adding in Sippy 2020. And we'll probably revisit some of these features at that point in time. So if you have any questions on any of the existing features that we've added in Sippy 2020, that would be a really good time to join us for that session and post your questions in the chat. This was just a small sample of some of the changes that we will be adding in our future release. We will have our release notes as soon as we publish our alpha release in the coming weeks here. And they'll be up on our development blog. So there are more changes that are to come. So pay attention to our blog for a little bit more information on those features. And then finally, if you are interested in trying out the new release, we will have alpha testing available. You will need to make sure that you have a sandbox license. You may want to contact support or sales to get a sandbox if you don't already have one. And I think that covers pretty much everything we wanted to touch on today, Fred.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Pavel. So there you have it, audience. Today, we've introduced you to some of the features that we're going to be going to in detail. Both Pavel and Philip are very well and thoroughly trained and familiar with each of the features. They know them intimately, and they're going to be sharing with you all the information that is important for you to know about what's coming up in Sippy 2020. One thing to make sure that you keep your mind on is to be part of the webcast that we've got coming up. I think that that'll be a very good way for you to learn more information and to be able to ask questions that you'll be able to get answers from directly from both Philip and from Pavel. I think that one of the things that you will be able to see with these videos is that Sippy Software is putting a lot of resources into making sure that we increase the level of value that you're getting from the soft switch. Not only you, but your customers and your users. So, having said that, for now, we're very happy that you've joined us. We're very excited to be launching Sippy 2020. We thank you for being here and for watching the videos, and we wish you good luck if you've entered the sandbox contest. Don't forget that the answers can be found on the videos that you watch. For now, thanks very much from Philip, Pavel, Sippy Software, and myself, Fred. We thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.